Hey everyone, I got something really big today and I'm excited to share it. Now I'm sure you've all been looking at your social media channels, you've been watching your favorite influencer and they've told you, hey, buy this coin. And then maybe they say DYOR, hashtag DYOR. What does that mean? That means do your own research. Okay, great. Maybe you knew that. Maybe you knew to do your own research. But what does that really mean? How do you do the research? What are the things that you're supposed to be looking at? Where do you find those things? And then at the end of the day, how do you evaluate those to know if it's worth it? Now, I'm going to show you today how to do your own research like a pro. I'm talking about like a hedge fund manager, a venture capital manager. This is the tools that they use. These are the tools that I've used for well over a decade. Now, I don't want to toot my own horn, but subscribers to my research services have seen my 10 to 15 page reports that I put out every single month for the last year and a half. We've managed to get into NEO when it was ant shares at 17 cents, made 68,000% on that. We got into Vertcoin when it was 3 cents, made 27,000% on that. And it's because of the research, all right? So I'm going to show you how to do that. You can still follow your favorite influencers, learn about the coins, but do your research, okay? So we're going to go through that today, and we're going to just start off at the beginning, and I'm going to go through this for you here. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to, you're probably going to start here. You're probably going to start here. You're on Twitter, you're on Instagram, or wherever you may be, and you find a post like this, Mr. Hodler. I don't know who this is, but he doesn't have a whole lot of followers. I don't know how credible it is, but it doesn't really matter because he says, hey, here's a list of potential coins that I like, DYOR. Okay, so getting your coin choices, your investment choices from some random person, I don't care how many followers they have on social media, is not a good idea. You need to be able to do your own research. So he says, here's a list of coins, DYOR, and now you're supposed to do that, whatever that means, all right? So let's take a look at another specific example. So here's one right here, Aon. Aon made big moves in the past 5 days. But I'm going to hold. It's going to be my biggest. I see 2 times return. And so you're looking at that going, shoot, he feels really confident about it. Maybe I should buy it. But do you even know what Aon is? Is Aon going to be the #1 pick for 2018? Is it going to be a dud? Is it going to go out of business? How do you know? What does it even do? So I'm going to show you how we find that, all right? So what I would do is I'm going to go ahead and look at this coin. We'll use Aon as an example. So we have Aon, we have the symbol right here, and we could click on that, and we could see how many people are talking about that, but we're not going to go there. The first thing I want to do before we even dig into the coin is I'm going to show you what we do to assign value or to find the value. So imagine if I was shopping for a car. Let's say that I wanted a Dodge Sprinter van. Now, I want to go buy a Dodge Sprinter van, or I have one to sell, and I want to know how much are they worth? How much are they going for? So the first thing I would do is I would come to a site that would have a listing of Dodge Sprinter vans like this. I would choose the years that I'm interested in. I would then find the trim, what condition it's in, the color. I would find the size of the engine, the transmission, the features, etc. All right. So once I've narrowed down all of those things, I get a listing of the Dodge Sprinter vans that are for sale, and I can start to see 21,000, 18,000. This one has less miles, it's cheaper. This one has more miles, it's more expensive. This one's quite a bit more expensive, but it's got much lower miles. And we start to get an idea of the make, the model, the trim, the features, and what it's worth. All right. Now let's use a better example. Everybody out there, I'm guessing, is doing this to get a Lambo, apparently. So if we were going to do a Lamborghini, it's the same thing, right? How much does a Lamborghini worth? How much is it worth? Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys are, win Lambo, but do you even really know how much a Lamborghini is worth? So again, we would go to a place where Lamborghinis are for sale, listed. We would choose the year, 16 to 18. We would look at, the different models, the trim, the condition, the colors, etc. And we would get an idea. Now, this one is $500,000, so I hope your crypto does pretty good to get that one, 500 grand. It's got 3,600 miles. This one's 525, but look, it's almost brand new, right? All the way down here, this one's only 400,000, and it's got 1,800 miles. So you can see that there's a range. So you got to figure out, okay, white colors are worth more, red colors are worth less. This year was bad. If it has these trim packages, it's worth more, etc. So I'm sure you all know that already. This maybe sounds ridiculous, but the reason why I say this is because I like to look at other things to kind of get an idea of what we're talking about. So just like I would identify what the value of a Lamborghini be, what I should pay for that Lamborghini, I would first look at other comparable Lamborghinis in the market. Does that make sense? So once I've done that, we're going to use that same model. So going back to our example, we were looking at Aon. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to CoinMarketCap right here. CoinMarketCap is the auto listing. It's like going, CoinMarketCap is for crypto like Auto Trader is for cars like Lamborghini. So I go to CoinMarketCap and I can go ahead and I can search Aon here and I can pull Aon up. Does that make sense? All right. Now what we're going to be looking at here is several things, all right? So you can write this down or you can watch this again later. So what we want to look at is I like to look at the date and the amount that it came on. So this went public on October 18th and it was at 60 cents. All right, it was on 60 cents, and then you can see that here it peaked on January 9th for $11. Imagine getting it for 60 cents and going up to $11. That's an amazing return. Since $11, it had dropped all the way back down here to about $1.88 April 6th, which was just like about 2 weeks ago, and now it's back up, $4, and it's down a little bit today. Okay, so that gives us the history. I have an idea of when it became public, how much it came up public for. I saw how much it went up to and down. Now, the reason why some of that's important is, let's say that it's been out for years and it's never really gone anywhere. Well, then that just gives me an idea about that. Now, I'm going to give you a lot of points to consider. Each one of these doesn't necessarily mean anything on its own. It's when you put all of it together that it starts to make sense. So one thing that I noticed is that it's a relatively new coin. It blew up pretty quickly when the market was hot. It suffered like all the other ones, and I'm not going to hold that against it. But what I do like is that it had a pretty good all-time high, and it's down pretty low. It's up off the low, but if it was this all-time high, there's a good chance that it could be back to that all-time high. So there's potential for it to get back to $10 or $11 right now, and it's at $3.39. All right, so that's the first thing. Now, again, I look at the current price, which is $3.39. But really, I'm not really worried about $3.39. I don't care if this is $339, $3,039, or 39 cents. The price of the coin doesn't really matter to me. So what I'm looking at here is I'm looking at the price movement, but really what matters to me is this right here, the market cap. All right, this is how much the Lamborghini costs. This is how much this company is worth. All right, now to figure out what this market cap is this the price times the circulating supply gives us the market cap. So if you want to know how much is Aon worth, it's not worth $3.39. It's worth $450 million. Does that make sense? So it's the market cap. The reason why that's important is if we looked at a coin like Ripple, for example, a lot of people are like, oh, Ripple's going to be the next Bitcoin. If I can buy Ripple for 77 cents and it turns into be $10,000 like Bitcoin, I'm going to make all kinds of money. So they're going to Ripple and they're saying it's 77 cents. Well, Ripple's not 77 cents. One token of XRP is worth 77 cents. Ripple is actually worth $30 billion. That's super expensive. Now, is it expensive or is it cheap? We would have to look at this Lamborghini compared to the other Lamborghinis, or is this a Dodge Sprinter, right? We don't know. I'm not going to get into that. But my point is that it's $30 billion, and that's not cheap. Now, if you look at Ethereum is 60 billion. So for Ripple to double and match Ethereum, which probably won't happen, that would bring the price of Ripple from 77 cents up to $1.40. That's it, $1.40. It's never going to go to 10,000 like Bitcoin will, and that's because of the circulating supply. We have 40 million tokens, almost 100 million that are going to become available. All right, so that's what I'm looking at there. A couple other things that we're going to look at here besides market cap, is we want to look at the circulating supply and the total supply. What happens is means this is how many coins are total available, and eventually will make its way into the market. So that's going to create inflation. That's like our US dollars. They keep printing more. The more US dollars we have, the less they're worth. It's inflation. And so what happens is we see that there's going to be inflation. So we just have to take that into account. These are all, like I said, they're not individual things we take individually, but we have to look at the whole picture. So we look at the total supply. And the other thing that I like to look at is I like to look at what exchanges you can currently buy this on. So you can click on this market tab right here, and you can see that it's on Binance and KuCoin. Okay, obviously Binance is a pretty good exchange. I think it's the #1 exchange in the world right now, so that's pretty good. KuCoin, KuCoin is okay. It's getting there. The rest, Ethanex, Liqui, I mean, those are just tiny exchanges. The reason why this is important is that the more exchanges that it's on, the more it could be worth, because it exposes it to new buyers, right? So as soon as you see it get picked up on Bittrex or Poloniex, or you can see it's not even really like in the Korean markets right now. So as soon as it gets picked up on BitThumb or something like that, it can explode the price. So it's good to see a coin that doesn't have all the exchanges, but sometimes you can find coins that are barely on any exchanges, like IDEX or something like that, but then there's the risk that it may never get picked up by bigger exchanges. So I like to see this one, Aeon. It's on one big exchange. It's on another smaller exchange. There's a probably good chance it'll get picked up by the bigger exchanges, and that on itself will bring the price up. So again, these are all things that we're just looking at. We're taking all these into consideration. So I've looked at I found the guy on Twitter that was shilling the coin. I've used my auto analogy to learn to look for the value. So now I find that the value of this Lamborghini is $400 million. And now what I want to do is I want to see what features does this Lamborghini have. Does it have the big motor, the small motor? Is it green or is it white? How many miles are on it? And that's where we need to go to the website. So right here on CoinMarketCap, you can click on website, and it's going to open up the website of any of these coins. So we go to the Aeon website right here. Now, what are we looking for when we get here? Now, back to the car analogy. If I was, if I needed a van, then I'm looking for a van. If I want a Lambo because I'm balling, then I'm going to get a Lambo. So what are we looking for here? Now, I can tell you what I typically look for. I can tell you what the professional fund managers look for, and I'll give you 3 criteria. Well, I'm going to give you a couple questions. So the first question that I'm going to ask myself on any project, doesn't matter what coin it is, I'm going to weed out 90% of the coins and get them off my radar right off the bat. This is what I'm going to show you is easy, but it's hard. Meaning it's very simple. Anybody can do this, but it's very time consuming. So you can't do this on 1,500 coins. So you need a system to get rid of the majority of coins so you can really focus down. All right. So here's what I do. I ask myself a couple questions. 1, what problem are they trying to solve? That's simple. But unfortunately, a lot of companies don't even pass that. I'll go to these websites and they're like, oh, we're this or that, we're the fastest. Okay, well, being the fastest isn't solving a problem. So what problem are they trying to solve? Then I say, is it a problem that needs to be solved? I'll say, does the problem have unlimited demand? And then I'll ask, are they using the blockchain in a unique way to do that? All right. Bitcoin has unlimited demand. They're trying to bank the unbanked. It can replace every currency in the world, and there's 2 billion additional adults in the world that don't have access to banks. That's a massive problem. It's a problem with unlimited demand. We can look at Potcoin, for example. Potcoin is for the legal cannabis space that has a problem with cash because they can't use banks. That's a problem. But it doesn't have unlimited demand because that market is very small. All right. Then we have like DentaCoin. It's for dentists. That's a very small market. And what they're doing, to me, it doesn't look like a problem that needs to be solved. And they're not using the blockchain in a unique way because why don't they just use a regular website? I don't even see why they need a blockchain. What I'm seeing today is all these utility coins that are coming out that are really glorified loyalty reward programs. And Target, your grocery store, they all have loyalty reward programs. You don't need a blockchain to do a utility coin a rewards program. Okay, so what problem are they trying to solve? What problem are they trying to solve? Does it need to be solved? Does it have unlimited demand? And are they using the blockchain in a unique way? So we look at this one. Now, sometimes it takes some digging to try to figure out what problem they're trying to solve. If they're a good company and they know how to market and position their product, they should make that readily available to you. So on this one right here, I can just tell right on the homepage, multi-tier system designed to address unsolved questions of scalability, interoperability in blockchain networks. All right. So what they're saying here is that they want to focus on scalability and interoperability in blockchain networks. Now, I'm going to get to that in a second. There's 3 types of problems that I like to see solved. Well, I'll tell you right now. So I like to see scalability. I like to see interoperability. All right. So those are 2 of the ones that I like to see solved. And so they're working on both of those at the same time. And so what does interoperable mean? So right now we have all these blockchains and they're not talking to each other. Not only do we have these blockchains, which are distributed ledgers, but we also have offline ledgers, online ledgers, private ledgers, public ledgers, but they can't talk. It's kind of like having all these websites, but they can't communicate. In 1995, we had the first kind of IPO. It was for Netscape, which was a browser, and it allowed us to get to communicate and get all these websites to be able to browse them and search them. And so that's what they're trying to solve. Now, to me, that's a massive problem. That's a really big problem, and I like to see that solved. All right, so I've tried to find the problem that they're trying to solve, and I do that by looking at their website. Now, do they need the blockchain technology to do that? Of course they do, right? How can you make blockchains interoperate without using blockchain technology? So of course, this is not a glorified rewards program. All right. Then what I like to do is I like to look at what layer are they on. Now there's typically 3 layers of blockchain projects. There's protocols, there's platforms, and there's applications. So an application is something that does a specific thing, like it helps influencers secure their data in the blockchain. Okay, that's a specific thing. A protocol is the technology that allows those applications to run. All right, so I typically like to get to the protocol layer, at least the platform layer. I typically try to stay away from applications. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't make a lot of money on applications. I should actually tell you that this is for investing. This is for long-term hodling. My Twitter name is Strong Hands Hodl. I'm the investment guy. I like to invest for a long term. Now, obviously, if you're trading, you're going off technical analysis, and that's not what we're going over today. So back to this. So because I'm investing for the long term, I'm going to be holding these projects for a long time. Because of that, I can't have unlimited projects. I only want to hold probably 20 to 30 projects max. So I have to find the best 20 or 30 out of the 1,600 that are available. So for me, I'm looking for protocols that are solving massive problems that need to be solved using blockchain technology in a unique way to do that. All right, so we're on the website. We've figured this out. The next thing that I want to do is I want to figure out what is their consensus mechanism. How do they achieve consensus? So it's a distributed ledger. It's decentralized. So how does it achieve consensus? Now, the 2 main ways are POW, proof of work. That means they use miners to do that. The other one is POS, which is proof of stake. And that means instead of having miners, people can put up their tokens or stake them. And that's what does the consensus. What's cool about that is by staking my coins, I actually can earn rewards for doing that. Some argue that it's more centralized. Some argue that it's better because it's more censorship resistant. It's harder to hack. It's harder to take over the network. So I'm not going to tell you which one I think is better, but it's important for you to understand what that is. I can tell you that Ethereum, which is it's the second largest, second most valuable blockchain company out there, they are switching to POS, hopefully sometime this year. So that tells you kind of a little bit about POS. So anyway, I want to find out about their consensus mechanism. If they are using miners, is it ASIC resistant? Is it quantum computer resistant? What are they doing to keep it decentralized? That's important to me. I like to make sure it's decentralized. A lot of new blockchains are super centralized, and that may be okay. It just kind of depends on you. Now, I want to look at their scalability. And so for the POS and for the scalability, I'll probably have to get into their white paper. So the white paper is the piece that tells you all about the project, all like the technical stuff about that. So on this website here, sometimes it might be a little bit hard to find. You can see that on this website, it doesn't clearly tell us where the white paper is. So we have to kind of click around. If we go to developers right here on this tab, and I scroll down, I can see right here, here's the white papers. Now we have a couple white papers here. We have an executive summary, the white paper, monetary policy, user manual, and the token use. Now, depending on how deep you want to DYOR, you're probably going to want to read most of these. For me, I would probably read all of these, but the user manual, I would definitely read the executive summary and I would start there. If I don't like it anymore from there, then I stop. But if I do like what they say in the executive summary, that's the summary. It's just a little snippet. If I do like what I read, then I'll go to the white paper. And if I like what I see in the white paper, then I'm going to go into the monetary policy and the token use. The reason why the monetary policy and the token use are important is because I need to know how the monetary policy works, what the inflation rate is, how people get rewarded. I need to know what the tokens are being used for. I need to make sure that there's a good token metric system that will cause the token to be used. And ultimately what I'm trying to find out is how will the token go up in value? So if they're a good company and they thought this through, they've designed a mechanism, a token economy that would create demand and cause the price of that token to go up. Now, just to tell you, just because they're using the token as a utility does not make it go up. This could be the most used token in the world, but that in itself doesn't make it go up. They need to create some sort of mechanism that creates scarcity. Now, I've done another video, I've talked all about that, so I'm not going to get into that super deep, but I'm going to look through the white paper for that kind of stuff. The other thing that I want to do is back to the home page. Well, I want to find the roadmap. Now, it may not always be on the homepage, but I want to find the roadmap. And what I want to do here is I want to find out what have they already achieved. Ideally, I'm looking for something that already has a working product, at least a beta product. All right. I don't typically like to invest into ideas. I want to see something tangible. So I want to see at least a beta product, a test net. It would be even more ideal if it was a main net. But sometimes if you get in on a test net before the main net goes live, that's a pretty good value. You can get in early. But I want to make sure that the main net is not 2 years away. A lot of these roadmaps, that was what Tron was really criticized for, is that their roadmap was years long. I want to make sure that the big stuff hasn't already been done, but enough stuff has already been done, and the big projects that are coming aren't 5 years in the future. Maybe we're going to see most of it happening this year, the rest of it next year. So I would look through their roadmap, looking at what they're doing, when we're supposed to expect it, etc. So you can see like this stuff is all 2019 and what they're doing. I'm not going to get into the roadmap. I apologize. Maybe I'm teasing you guys. I'm not intending for this video to be fundamental research on Aeon. What I'm doing is showing you how to do your own research. So I'm showing you all the things that I personally use. Now, if you want me to start doing research and putting out the videos, let me know. I do research on all these companies on my own. If you'd like to see me do it, walk you through it, let me know. Tell me what coin you would like me to do it on, and the ones that get the most votes, I'll start lining them up and doing that for you if that's what you guys want. Anyway, I'm teaching you how to do it on your own. So I've looked at the roadmap, and that's what I'm going to get from the white paper, or from the website. So I'm going to get the white paper. I'm going to figure out what problem they're solving. Does it need to be solved? Does it have a limited demand? I want to figure out what layer they're on. If they're a protocol platform application, I'm going to figure out their consensus is either POW or POS. I'm going to figure out their roadmap. Now, one thing, we'll look at scalability as well, but just keep in mind that not all projects need to be super scalable. All right, so that's what I'm going to do. Now, the next thing I'm going to do on the website is I want to dig into the team. Now, I know this, probably sounds simple. Of course, you need to look in the team. But the reason why the team is so important is that a lot of people can have a good idea. But can they pull it off? That's the big thing, right? Anybody can come up, well, not anybody, but a lot of people can come up with a good idea. But do they have what it takes to actually pull it off, especially in a very competitive market? So we'll look at the team. I'll click here. I can see right here, team right here. So I'll click here. Now this pulls up the team. Now, I don't really like the way Aon has done this. So what happens is they don't have any names, titles, nothing under the team names. So now it makes me work a lot harder. So right here, I have to basically mouse over and it tells me, okay, she's an engineer, engineer. I don't really care about the engineers so much. What I do like to see is how many engineers they have. So they have quite a few engineers. Obviously the engineers are important, don't get me wrong, and we'll dig into that. But I'm looking here, so let's say right here, he's a CFO, Jason Burke. But there's no way for me to click on this. So I don't really like that. I wish they'd give me some more information and make my job a whole lot easier. So in a case like this, I'm going to have to turn to Google. So Jason Burke, CFO, Aon, I'll Google search it, I'll search it on LinkedIn, and I'll just try to dig up as much stuff as I possibly can. Who else do we have that's here? Manager, engineer, counsel, CTO. Chief Technology Officer, I'll probably look him up. Gen 2, CTO, Aon, I'll look him up. Who else? COO, look him up. And then right here, this is the CEO. So I definitely want to look up Matthew Spoka as well. Now, he does a lot of videos. He's really good about that, so there's a lot of content out on him. I want to give you another example. We're going to keep going through Aon, but just for example, here's another company. This is OneChain, and look at their team. So right here, they put the guy's name. He's the founder, and they give you kind of his little bit of a bio right here. So it makes my job easier. So you know, he graduated from Peking University, the Ohio State University, blockchain entrepreneur. He co-founded Factom. Now, Factom is a project that I really like. I don't know if you've heard about Factom, but I really like Factom. So for me, he co-founded another project that I already really like, that's doing really good things and very successful. And so since he already co-founded another project that I really like, that earns a lot of points for me. What I'm typically looking for in a team is two things. One, I'd really like to see blockchain experience. So the fact that he was co-founder of another successful project, that says a lot. I would also like to see, if they don't have that, I would like to see industry experience. So for example, if they're creating a blockchain to reinvent the way we do marketing, for example, then I'd like to see that they actually have some marketing people on their team that have worked in that marketing space. So maybe they don't have blockchain space, but they have industry specific. So I want to see a pretty well-rounded background from the team. I want to see blockchain experience, tech experience, and I want to see industry experience. The other thing that I like about the way they did this, and most people do it like this, so they're going to give you a little bit of a blur, but also I can click on them. So if I click on them, it opens up their LinkedIn profile here. So I can see founder and CEO of OneChain, co-founder, CEO of this, co-founder, CTO of this, and now I can click on each one of these and I can do some more research. So you can see how much easier this makes my job, which is why I like it. But then, like I said, Google research, what I'm going to look into is LinkedIn. I'm going to check their past projects. I want to see if I can find out, how did they leave those projects? Are those projects good? Did they leave too early? And then also we'll look at the advisors now, back on the OneChain site. So the advisory group, Secretary Council of DACA. Okay, that's pretty good. Now, just to be clear, a lot of people think advisors are worthless. I don't think they're worthless. I think they're worth something. They're not worth a whole lot. So let me explain. So advisors mean that they're not part of the project. They're not, they probably don't have they most likely don't have a daily activity or a daily role inside that company. What I look at is advisors as connectors. All right, that's what I look for. I think advisors are connectors. They're door openers. So I'm sure most of you guys have watched the Shark Tank. And on the Shark Tank, a lot of these entrepreneurs, they come and they want to partner with one of these sharks. And a lot of times what they say is that they just want that shark to open up doors for them. They want them to get them a meeting with this big box retailer or something like that. And that's the way these advisors are. They're not working in the business, but they're connectors. And so then what I want to look at is, can they connect? Who can they connect us to? Can they connect us to relevant people in the space? So that's what we're looking for. So put a little bit of weight towards the advisors. It's not everything, but if they're good advisors that have good connections that this company might need, then I think they could be useful. So that's the team, and that's what I'm going to be looking for. Let's see. All right. The next thing that I want to do is I want to look at the community. All right. So the community is super important. really no company can be successful without a really robust, a really active community. And that's because you can have the best product in the world, but if nobody knows about it and nobody's using it, it's never really going to take off. And so they need to have a really big community for that. And so what I would do here, going back to Aon, we can click on community here. This doesn't really give us much. They invite us to be part of their community. Okay, there's a bunch of videos from the CEO. What I'm ultimately looking for is right here. So they have all these right here. I think if I was back on the home page, right here, oh, you can't quite see that. That's why. Let's see. Sorry. There you go. So you can see they have all these down here. So these all lead to their social media. And so what I'll do is, like, if I click on Telegram right here, it opens up and it tells me it has likes, 10,000, which coins you'd like to see. We'll get that lined up. Okay, that's all I got for tonight. So it's pretty good size. For you. Now again, I'll be going back to the Lamborghini example. Do I really know what high mileage is and low mileage is? I don't know until I start comparing Lamborghini mileage. So on Lamborghinis, typically mileage would be very low. So I'd probably want something in like less than 2,000 or 3,000 miles. If it had 5,000 miles, that might be a lot. Versus like the Sprinter van we looked at, those are diesel engines. They're vans. They're used for transport. They typically have over 100,000 miles. So is that a lot of Telegram users? I don't really know, but we need to track it, and that's another feature that we just measure against the other ones. I could keep going on. I go to the Twitter, and I can see that they have 44,000. Wow, okay, they got 44,000 people, and on and on and on. I can keep going down. What I like about this is that they have a bunch of channels. So a lot of times you might see 2 or 3 channels, but here they have a bunch of channels, so that's good. So that's big. I want to see that. I want to see that they have an active community. I want to see how many platforms they have. I want to see how many followers they have, how many community members they have. Then comes a little bit of a harder piece. So what I want to do is I want to see what is the community doing. What's the sentiment? All right. So for that, it's time consuming because now I got to get involved in the community. So now I need to join their Telegram channel. I need to join their Facebook group. I need to join their Twitter page, etc. And I need to see what conversations are going on in there. If everybody in there is going, this company sucks, they won't even reply to anything, I did my research and it's just a big scam or whatever, then I want to know that, right? Versus if you see everybody going, oh, I met with the owner and he told me how great it was, and you know, I had my friend who's a coder look at the code and the code's great, or okay, then that makes me feel better. So I want to see sentiment. Are people saying good things? Are people saying bad things? The other thing is I want to see how involved are they with the community. So are there people from Aon or from this company active in the community? Are they moderating the groups? Are they answering questions? Are they involved? That's a really big piece for me. All right. So how active are they in the community? How active are they on social media? And then also, how much content are they putting out? Are they all in the news, all in the press? Are they putting out lots of videos? Are they putting out lots of press releases? Are they giving us lots of content in the community? Because that's super important. You could imagine if a company was kind of hands-off and they were hardly putting out any content, then the project goes cold. It goes stale. And a lot of projects that you might see that have been out for a year have already gone cold and stale. So we want to look at that, we want to measure that, we want to monitor that. And that's something for me, if I'm holding 20 positions, I'm involved in all 20 of those communities. And I want to see, because if the sentiment starts changing, if they stop communicating, if they stop putting out information, then that's a warning sign to me. I might want to be looking for an exit. Right? So I want to stay involved in that. The other thing that you can do with the community that's pretty cool is you should be able to engage with the people from the company. So for me, taking an investor role, I'm going to try and communicate with the admins and potentially even try and get people from the company to communicate with me. So I can ask them specific questions that I have after I've looked at their website, after I've looked at the white paper, etc. All right. So that's most of the easy stuff. The next thing that I think you should do, this gets a little bit more complicated, but the next thing that you should do is you should make sure that it has an active developer base. You want to make sure that they're actively developing this. So a lot of these supposed blockchain companies really are just a slick website and a white paper, and they don't have an active project. So I want to see, like I told you already, I want to make sure that they have a working product, or at least a beta product, and I want to see that they're working towards, completing that roadmap. And so the way that we can do that is we can look on GitHub, and GitHub has a repository, and that's where all the code is stored, and we can see how often they update that code. Now, the way that we can typically find it is on their website. So right here, when I come down here, this little icon right here is for GitHub. And if I click on this little icon right here, it's going to open up their GitHub page. What they actually have is they have this other one over here, and this one is called Gitter. And this is also another kind of repository for code. But typically we just look at GitHub. So we can click on this right here, and this opens up the Aon Foundation, and then you can see these are their repositories. So this is basically where they have different pieces of code stored. So for example, their Aon Explorer, their main Aon, their miners, their pools, their APIs, the wallet. So for example, all the code would be, for the wallet, would be in this wallet repository. So if I want to see if they're working on the wallet, how active they are working towards fixing bugs, etc., I could click in there. But for this, we'll just look at the main one. So when I click on this, it tells me it has 1,485 commits. That's quite a bit. That's quite a bit, especially since they've only been around since October of last year. I can see how many contributors. So this might be a warning flag. Again, these are not to be taken individually. You have to take into the whole picture. But imagine if they only had one person doing all the contributing. Like, that may not be that good. Like, what if something happens to that one person, and like maybe he's not that good, maybe he needs a team to help him. So I want to see how many commits. I want to see how many contributors they have. Those are important things. Up here I have issues, so I could see what kind of issues they've had. And then here I can click on like insights. This gives me some insights, which is nice. So I can see some stats, some numbers, etc. And now I can look here, contributors. I can look at the commits. I could do a whole video just on reading GitHub. I'm not going to do that here. I'm just showing you the basics. So this is what we do. Go here. At least, if nothing else, look at how many commits they have. Look at how many contributors they have. Now, don't take this as law. Some companies are known for gaming this, and so they can do just worthless commits just to get those numbers up. And that's been discovered on quite a few companies out there. So this is not in itself everything, right? This is just another piece that we add to the picture. And then maybe the last thing that I would do then is I would come over here and I would go to CoinMarketCal. And for here, what this does is this is a pretty good collection of all the events that are coming up. And I can look at it by coin. So here I have a whole list of all these coins, or I could just search a coin. So here I'll just search Aon, and I can pull it up, and now I can see these Aon events coming up. So for example, we have this one as a mainnet launch. Well, that's pretty massive. Like, okay, a mainnet launch is like a pretty big deal. A conference, not that big deal. Ethereum community chat conference, not that big of a deal. Oh, token release, that's a pretty big deal. And so I want to see that they have events happening frequently, and I want to make sure they're pretty important things. And then more from a trading perspective, or maybe even a short-term investing perspective, a lot of times you may have heard the saying, buy the rumor, sell the news. So for example, there's going to be a token release on May 13th. There could be a little bit of hype leading up into that, and you could buy into that hype, and then you could sell right before that happens. And so a lot of times you'll see, on airdrops or something like that, the price will escalate and then it will drop right off. So those are all the things that I would do for my research. And what this does is this now tells me how many miles does my car have, what color is it, etc. Then what I need to do is I need to go, okay, great. Now that I know my make, my model, my features, etc., it's worth $500,000, or in this case, it's worth $400 million. Then what I want to do is I want to go, okay, what are other projects like this worth? So then I would go and I would find other projects that are similar, and I would try to find some price differences. Now, this is a very new sector, so it makes it a little bit more difficult, but I would say, well, Ethereum is a platform, it's a protocol, Cardano is a protocol, Stellar is a protocol. These are all in the billions. I think that WAN chain should easily be $1 billion project. I mean, a lot of these, most of all these are protocols and platforms, and they're billion-dollar platforms. So from that, I think that one chain should easily have a 100% return from there, minimum. Something to make it a little bit easier, we could look at like privacy coins, for example. So there's a ton of privacy coins, and I could look at like Monero is a privacy coin that's up here in the top, and it's worth 4 billion. And then I have Pivx that's worth only 278 million. So they're both privacy coins. Monero's 4 billion, Pivx is only 200 or 300 million. And then I would want to really compare Pivx and Monero. Who are their teams? How active are their commits? How big are their community? How much do they communicate with their community? And then I would try to say, do I think Pivx could grow to be like Monero at some point? And if so, then I believe that Pivx could grow to be a $4 billion company, and that means I could make 5 or 10 times on my investment. So again, just like a car, first you got to figure out the make, model, the features. Then I look at what the other make, models, and features are and how much they're going for. I dig into my own product and I figure out all those features within the coin itself, and then I compare it against other similar projects to determine what I think is the fair value. All right, so it's again, it's simple, yet it's hard to do. It's time consuming. So that's it. I hope that's helpful for you. And now you know how to do your own research. Like I said, it's not that hard. It's just time consuming, and that's the biggest thing. You know, it's time consuming, and you know, if you want, we have services that can help you with that. Go ahead and look at signalprofits.com. We have a $7 trial. You get 14 days for only $7. It's kind of a no-brainer. We get you all the market analysis, calls, market updates, everything delivered right to your phone every single day. It's probably the easiest way to do the DYOR. But anyway, you have the tools that you need to be successful. You can now DYOR like a pro, like a hedge fund manager. Go ahead and like this video. Give me some thumbs up. I need a lot of thumbs up. Subscribe. And then, like I said, if you want to see me do this live with some actual coins, give me some comments, give me some likes, tell me which coins you'd like to see, and we'll get that lined up. That's all I got for tonight. Hopefully this was helpful for you, and I'll be back with more. All right?